Hello again, everyone. Deflect here, Firm at Fair Gaming. So you came in. It is now time. I'm sure most of the people are playing Devastation Evoker, and you have no idea how to do it. That was me. I did some rotations. I didn't get a beta key, so I was able to find out a pretty decent build and pretty good rotation on how to do it. I will put a rotation thing in the description, so if you just want to skip to that, or if you want to see the whole build and everything else, just follow through. Also, if you haven't done so, definitely subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps me out. I'll leave the link in the description for Twitch if you want to come watch on Twitch, and also on Patreon if you want to support the channel more. But don't forget to hit that sub button on YouTube and Twitch, and you can follow along with all the content. Now, Devastation Evoker. I went Venthyr. Covenant really doesn't make that big of a difference. I mainly went Venthyr because I don't have Famu yet, and I'm going to farm it with this one as well. So, basically, I went with Theodore, and I went with Theodore for a couple reasons. I went with him for the mastery, and then you can also get, it's always tea time or a couple different other perks. He gives a 548 mastery. Crit mastery is going to be your best stat, so this is the big reason I went with Theodore. And I just went down the path and put in the Covenant increase. I put in the mastery increase. For the finesse, I put in the duration of permanent chill. You could use really anything you wanted. Increased movement speed might be okay too. And then I went Circle of Life and Death or Circle of Life. Sorry, Life and Death is one from Druid, but Circle of Life for the Leech. I did Condensed Atmosphere for the healing and your max health because I am low item level, and it definitely takes a lot out of you. Going over some other items like the talents. Talent tree is interesting as we have right now. A lot of different talents. Of course, you have to take the top one, which is Landslide. It's just given to you. I went with all three in the first row and then moved over to the right. So Obsidian Scale is an additional charge because you need a defensive. Living Flames deals 6% more damage and healing. And store 20% of your effective healing up to 3k roughly. I got the Interrupt with Quell. I went down to magic damage done is increased by 4%. And then also went down the left side. Now this is only level 60, so I don't have all of them. I would like to have Deep Breath stuns and a couple other talents, but this is pretty much what I'm running until I get there. The other ones to go, I went with this build strictly for M+, not rating. This is more of AoE focused. Otherwise, I would have taken Shattering Star because this is a great boost. It's even on my bars for single target, but for AoE, I don't really use it that much because it's only 2 target. But a couple of the major ones to point out, you always want Dragonrage. Dragonrage is just so good. You also want Eternity Span. And this is your Shattering Star hits twice as many targets. The crit is nice, the extra crit here. And then moving down the left side, Burnout was great. Fire Breath damage has 16% chance to cause your next Living Flame to be instant cast, stacking 2 times. So you can instant cast Living Flame, which is great. And Consuming Essence Burst reduces the remaining cooldown of Fire Breath. So, some very good talents there. I will put a link in the description for this build as well. And that way, if you just want to copy and paste, you can do that. As you can see, I'm not the highest item level by any means. I'm only 248, call it. And I'm able to sustain almost 24k DPS on 5 target. Now it keeps resetting in here, which is very annoying, and I hope they fix that soon. That the nameplates keep going from stacking to overlap, so hopefully they will fix that. But Invoker is very easy. I'm not going to get into Deep Breath because Deep Breath is a 2-minute cooldown. You'll just use that either at the starter pull or when all the mobs are stacked up. And it's not very easy to use in here. It just, you know, you can use it, then you get behind the target. But anyways, you can either use it at the starter pull or at the end. You do have some other buttons I'll get into after, but your AoE rotation is very simple, actually. It's not a hard rotation. at all. So what you do is you want to start with a fire breath, and I only use one charge. The only reason I would use more than one charge, because one charge gives you 24 seconds of the dot, and the dot is all the same damage, whether you use it one charge or four charge or five charge, whatever. Four charge, sorry. It just lasts shorter time the more you perk it up, but then it does more front damage. So it's front loaded the longer you hold it. So I only ever use one charge for the most part, but I will use more than one charge on Surge. So the reason you use more than one charge, and with that talent we took, you will have, it will be hitting twice as many people. So you want to use one charge for 2 targets, and then 2 charges for 4, or 3 for 6. That type of idea. This is 5 targets, so we'll need to charge this to 3 to hit all of them. And that will put the dot on all. So you'll open with a fire breath, 1 charge, that's it, and a eternity star surge for 3. And you can see they all have the dot now. And since it proc the living flames, I would use that. And then it procced a pyre, so use a pyre. Now this is not including Dragonrage, you'll get into that after. And then you just want to keep Azure striking until you either get a proc of pyre, 20 stacks, or fire breath, or eternity surge on cooldown. Now I know that sounds complicated, but let me simplify as best I can. You always want fire breath and eternity surge on cooldown. That's your priority. Other than that, when it comes to doing other ones, you'll use pyre when it's procced or at 20 stacks. One of the two. Procs, use it. 20 stacks, use it. Living Flame, use it when procced. So I haven't got the weak ores yet, but I'm going to get some weak ores for Living Flame when it's procced and ready to go. And I'm going to get a pyre counter. So this will either be 20 stacks if it's not procced, or when it procs, fire it then. So it's very quickly done. Fire breath, surge to 3. Living Flame proc, so proc it. Pyre proc, so use it. Azure strike to fill. And just keep doing that until you get a fire breath or Living Flame, or a proc pyre at, or 20 stacks. So that's it. Azure, Azure, Azure. You can throw in a Living Flame. Azure, Azure. We're almost at 20 stacks. We're at 20. Then pyre. And now we have the breath. The breath is off cooldown, so you want a breath. And then surge. And because I'm not doing it as quick as I should, my DPS is a little lower than 20, but you can see how this works out. So it's just Azure for filler, and we're waiting on procs, either Living Flame or pyre. There's the Living Flame and the pyre. I should have shot the pyre first. And a pyre proc again, but now we want breath because it's off cooldown. Breath, surge, Living Flame, Living Flame. I threw in an Azure there, and now proc pyre, and away you go. And you can keep up this rotation for basically a long time. It's a great way to do it. I found it does a ton of damage, especially if you start getting a lot of procs. Now, I'm going to show you, because that did not include your Dragonrage, because that's on a 2-minute CD. So Dragonrage throws a little wrench into it. Erupt with Dragon Fury and Exhale Pyres at 3 enemies within 25 yards for 12 or 14 seconds. Essence Burst chance to occur is increased by 100%, and you gain the maximum benefit of Mastery Giant Killer regardless of target's health. That's it. That's what it does. It's just a good burst window. So if you have that, you'll want to do a little bit different than what we do here. You want to go in with Dragonrage, basically up, so you can go in, you can Dragonrage, then you breath, then you surge, Living Flame, pyre, pyre, and then Azure till you proc. So it kind of goes in the same. And you can even hold your stacks before you cast Dragonrage. So if it comes up mid-pull, hold your stacks a bit if they're not procced. And then you can go in and do it with the stacks that are procced. And you can see I'm 27, 28k. You can burst higher than that too. If all things align, you get some great bursts, you can just keep going. So that's basically the rotation for AoE. And it's just keeping breath up, keeping surge up, and filling with pyres and Azure and living flames. Very simple, very good damage, and like I said, I'm doing 25k here, and I'm 248 item level. Oh, you can really crush out some damage on these evokers. I will get into the single target rotation here as well. It doesn't change much, but it does a little bit. So single target is very similar, very easy. The difference will be Surge, you'll only use one because there's only one target. Still one with the fire breath, and then your filler will be Living Flame, and you'll use Disintegrate basically on cooldown. Very simple rotation. You don't forget Dragonrage if you have that up as well. So you'll go in, it will be Breath to 1, Surge to 1. I should have Disintegrated there. Disintegrate, and then Living Flame as a filler, and then Disintegrate again when this comes up. Disintegrate, Living Flame as a filler. You can throw in Azure strikes every now and then too, as it's quicker if you have to move, or if you have to move, use hover, and you can cast Living Flame on the move. But remember, just fire breath, keep up, Eternity Surge, Disintegrate, Disintegrate. It's a pretty basic rotation for single target. So you want to just, yeah, as much as you can. I missed a few there where my damage should have been higher, but that's a single target rotation. Very simple with these ones. There isn't much to it. It's basically just keeping up. Basically keeping up Disintegrate and your 2 dots and Living Flame. Now, if you don't have hover and you have to move, so hover also launches you forward, but if you don't have hover to cast Living Flame and you have to move, you can always move and cast Azure Strike. It's not going to be that big of a DPS loss, but your filler will just change to Living Flame instead of Azure Strike. And that's how easy the single target is. Now, let me get into some cool buttons that you do have. You have Rescue if you talented into it. You have Tip the Scales, so compress time to make your next empowered spell cast instantly at its max empower level. So, what does that mean? That's a 2-minute cooldown. That sounds pretty fun. That means you can use Eternity Surge instantly. Because you're only using breath on one, don't use it on breath. Use it on Eternity Surge. That's the big thing there. Always use on Eternity Surge in AoE. Sorry, in AoE. Let me specify that in AoE. On single target, on single target, I would use it on breath, to be honest, because that way you'll get the max damage dealt, but it only is on for 6 seconds. Your breath will wear off. But it does no bonus to Eternity Surge on single target. So AoE, use on Eternity Surge, single target, use on breath. Some other cool abilities. You have Emerald Blossom, little AoE heal on the ground. You have Expunge Toxins affecting any allies, removing all poison effects. Pretty cool to get rid of poisons. You have Rescue, so you can jump to someone. I can't do it in here, I don't think. Oh, I guess yeah, you can't do it unless you're in a party. So you could rescue, swoop into an ally, fly to them, to the target location, which with a talent here, which one of these, the rescue protects you and your ally from harm, absorbing damage equal to 30% of the max health. I'll be taking that later, so at level 70 that'll come into play a little more. You do have fly to fly and heal them to an ally for a bit. So you can heal an ally, you can use this one on yourself, and the Embrace on yourself as a heal. Obsidian Scales is a great defensive, so that is always nice to have. The great defensive to have. Also, your Covenant ability, Boon of the Covenants. Call upon the Covenants for Shadowlands to aid you, restoring 12k health and increasing your versatility by 10% for 12 seconds. Very good to use as well. And Renewing Blaze surrounds you for 8 seconds. While this effect, 100% of the damage you take is healed back over 8 seconds. Great one to also to use if you're going to take a bunch of damage. So that kind of sums up the Evoker. We do have a bunch of kicks, a ton of kicks. You have a powerful flap your wings, knock enemies away in front of you. You can Conjure Path, rooting enemies for 30 seconds. You also have a tail swipe, which knock enemies within 8 yards, which is another stun, or kind of stun. But it's a knockback, and an interrupt on a 20-second cooldown. So lots and lots of utility. You also have Bloodlust, and don't forget your Blessing of the Bronze. This just lowers your movement abilities by 15%. If you have any questions on the Evoker, definitely leave a message below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And again, like, share, subscribe. Questions below. I'll try and answer what I can. This was Deflect for Gaming. We'll see you in the next video.